It's about that time, another Amazon special. Let's find out if it's really special. About a year ago, I tested this palm-sized mini amplifier from Amazon with the name Plinius. Now, I never heard of this brand before, but I did have some people comment saying, hey, there's a company called Plinius out of New Zealand that makes high-end home audio amplifiers and other equipment. Now, this can't be the same company, right? Well, no. Apparently, Plinius Car Audio, they make amplifiers, DSPs, and more, including the one we're going to show off today. Yes, my friends, they're a company straight out of China. So, of course, we had to go to the company tab on the Plinius Car Audio website to find out what's behind this company, and here they are. It is Henzhou City Cable Line Electric Company Limited, City Car Modification Allowance, referred to as a City Car, acting brand Plinius, Datasat, Earthsound, Nakamichi, and more. So that may be more information than you care about knowing, but this $80 amplifier we got today is their 1000 watt monoblock version, which has some new additional features that will look kind of cool. So let's do the normal thing, unbox it, find out what's inside, and put it on the amp dyno. As usual, we have a little goodie bag here, which includes a couple of extra fuses, some standoffs, some mounting screws, and Alan threw in a couple of his what the hex wrenches. Next up, we have the remote bass cable and the remote bass knob, and in this case, they stepped it up, my friends. Power, protect, and clip light on this remote bass cable, but the potentiometer is small, it's hard to turn. Oh well, at least they got it a little bit better than before. And finally, wrapped in protective plastic, we have the monoblock amplifier. So let's pull it out and take a closer look. Nothing too fancy about the design here. It is kind of small. We'll go over the dimensions later in the video. Here you can see it, Plinius Car Audio Class D mono amplifier. And we're going to take a close look here at both sides of the amp to find out what we have as far as connections, features, and etc. Here you can see on the one side of the amplifier, we have RCA inputs, standard style. These are not Tiffany style, of course. We also have RCA outputs, which is kind of unusual for a budget monoblock amp. Also, we have the input gain from 0.5 to 8 volts. We have a phase control, 0 to 180. It is variable. That's nice. Low pass filter, 300 hertz down to 40 hertz. Subsonic filter, 40 hertz down to 10 hertz. Also a bass boost, 0 to 12 dB, but it does not tell us the frequency. Also, we have the remote level jack for the RJ45 style connection that's included. As we flip this mini amplifier to the other side, we can see first off the speaker outputs, which is a single jack here with around 12 gauge for plus and minus. We have the power, protect, and clip LED lights. We also have two fuses. They're 40 amp ATC style. Easy to find those in any parts store. Also, we have 4 gauge for the power input. Remote terminal there in the middle accepts up to 12 gauge. Overall, the amplifier, again, pretty basic looking. Does have 4 gauge power and ground inputs. It has a nice remote bass knob, but let's take a look at the dimensions. 7.7 inches for the long side, 5.1 inches for the width, and 2 inches for the height. As for ratings, at 4 ohms, it's rated 360 watts, 2 ohms, 600 watts, 1 ohm, 1000 watts. Those are RMS ratings according to the manual. As we have the amp hooked up, you see we powered up here. Power light is green, LED is all good. It powers up immediately, no turn on thump, no issue with that. Let's get it hooked up to the SMD DeMoore Engineering Amplifier Dyno, where we'll test the power output in watts on the left, the ohm load in the middle, voltage of the dyno on the right. We'll also have the clamp so that we can estimate this amplifier's efficiency. First up, we're going to try the amp at 4 ohms. It's rated 360 watts at 14.4 volts. First test is certified up to 1% distortion. We're feeding it the 40 hertz track. Can we get that 360? No, 306 at 14.32. What about uncertified? Maybe they measured it up to the clipping point. Let's try it up to the clipping point here. Again, 40 hertz. Can we get the 360? Not quite. 322, 14.24. Now what about dynamically? If we send the dynamic pulse track, I can't even talk, into the amp, we still don't get the 360, 328 at 14.38. So this is never a good sign, but let's hook it up to the sub and see what it sounds like with speakers. Okay, so the Savard 6.5 was flexing there. Sounded pretty good. Let's move on to 2 ohms where it's rated 600 watts at 14.4. Certified test again up to 1% distortion. Can we get the 600? No, 489 at 14.42. Well, once again, we're going to reset the amp dyno here for the uncertified track, which takes us up to the clipping point, which honestly, monoblock amplifiers, this is where they should be measured anyway, in my opinion. But it's still not there. 537, 14.36. Now, can it get its rated power dynamically? Please, can you do it? Can you get 600? Let's see. Oh, look at that. Right at 600. Now, granted, the voltage was a little high, 14.74, but we did get the power. Let's go back to the Subwoofer Flex. Let's try the woofer test, see if we get any clipping. No clipping, but all the air rushing out of that port definitely blew the 3 hairs on my bald head.
This is not a Mickey Mouse program!
That's right. Let's move on to the 1 ohm test where it's rated 1,000 watts at 14.4. Certified 40 hertz. Can we get it? And no, 647. That's well shy, my friends. 35% shy of that rating. What about up to clipping? Can it possibly get 1,000 watts up to clipping? No. 776. 14.22. So once again, more than 20% less than the rated power. What about dynamically? Can we reach to 1,000 watts dynamically? And hold on to your hats. Is it going to do it? 933. 993. Are we going to bust 1,000? We got 993 though. And here are the results, my friends. 8 ohms down to 1 ohm, including the efficiencies. Of course, at 1% distortion, we didn't meet any of the ratings. At the burst, we did meet ratings on some of the tests. Efficiency was kind of low at 1 ohm, to be honest. I wanted to test the clipping indicator on the remote to see how it matched up to what the amp dyno says. So you watch here, notice the one on the remote comes on just slightly before the dyno does. That's okay to me. At least it's pretty close to actual clipping. And I do show another test here where I have them closer together, and you can still see the one on the amp comes on just before the dyno. But overall, the clip indicator here is pretty accurate, so that's always a good thing because you know when you're clipping. Now let's take off the 4 Phillips head screws on the bottom of the amp so we can take off the bottom panel here and take a closer look at the internals to see what's up with this amplifier. Here you can see got some capacitors, transformers, more capacitors, bunch of surface mount components, etc. We have 63 volt, 1500 microfarad cap tops. We also have 105 degrees Celsius here, 3300 microfarad 25 volt Yuscons on the power supply side. Nothing shocking here from the internals from what we see. Let's move on to the pros and cons, things I like, the things that could be better. First up, the good stuff. It's inexpensive, around 80 bucks at the time of the video. 4-gauge power and ground. Does have variable subsonic and variable phase control. Also remote bass with the clip indicator. Has RCA output so you can pass it through to another amp, and is relatively compact in size. Things that could be better. Overrated power for sure. Only has a single speaker output with 12-gauge wire. Potentiometer on the remote is really hard to turn. Efficiency at 1 ohm was very low, 56%. And these amps possibly have FM or AM radio interference. I didn't notice it with my test, but I have seen people complain about it before, so just be warned, inexpensive amps, you might have some RFI problems. So there you have the test, but if you stick around a little bit longer, I will show you some additional tests. Are you ready?
40,000 watts? 40,000 at 0 ohm. 0.
More like 0.8, but let's try it. Certified to 1% distortion. What can we get? and not much more than 1 ohm, 656 at 14.39, pulling 93 amps of current through 80 amps of fusing. Ask me how it's possible. If you see previous videos, you will understand how it's possible. What about uncertified up to the clipping point? Again, 0.8. Can we get closer to that 1,000 watts? Not really. 825 at 14.26, pulling 96.7 amps. Let's move on to the dynamic track. Can we get over 1,000 watts dynamically at 0.8? Yes, we can. 1,071. 1133, but our voltage is strong there at 14.66. Now, being the big dummy that I am, we're going to drop it even lower. Try 0.67 with a dynamic burst. Is the amp going to go up into smoke? Go up into flames? Is it going to jump off my bench? No, we get about 1,249 watts with strong voltage 14.64. That's all I have. I appreciate you guys as always. Thanks for watching my videos. Smash me a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed. Stick around for the next one. Let me know what you think about this $80 1,000 watt quote unquote monoblock. Till next time, Big D, I'm out of here.